So, time's up. Okay, so you've come up with a reason why. Because whenever we went to the... Why don't you go play up in your room for a little bit? I don't want you to hear this. Put your shirt back on. Well, then at least wait till you get to your bedroom before you take it off. It's cooler in the mornings, but it heats up in the afternoons. So it was a little warm whenever we came home. So, anyway. Should have waited to start this. Okay. Anyway, I think I figured out why Chris's teacher looked at me like she half expected me to, I don't know, flip a bitch switch. Because, first of all, I end up writing emails with both of our input in it. So it's not even just my shit. Second of all, both his dad and me are very polite, even if we don't like you. Unless you're just that bad and we don't have to, in which case we'll still maybe polite, but there also might be a little bit of go to hell in there. If it's bad enough. Usually we're polite. It's really selective things as far as that goes. You have to be really bad. Oh, why is my hair not behaving? Anyway, my hair is still not behaving. I've given up today, but I did have this really good experience riding the car. It's actually pretty hard to keep on one subject whenever you are talking at a camera. Whenever you're talking to a person, it can be different. But talking to a camera, there's no one interacting with you. You're just talking at a camera, which is probably why a lot of people edit their videos a lot. Also interruptions, you know. So anyway, going back to the subject at hand. I think I figured out why she doesn't like me. Also, I found an entry I made that literally only ended because my phone hit 5% and then died. Where I had a pretty high fever the other day. Now I made a video while I was in the bathtub. Can't see anything, but I talk about stuff and I'm like, really? Really? I needed to talk about this? But you know, since I have a sort of style on here that's sort of shameless, I might upload it anyway. I mean, not shameless in the fact that I do horrible things, just TMI. TMI. TM freaking I. Anyway, the teacher, his teacher hates me. So she's hated me like since that first day whenever we went to meet the teachers before he started. So like at first she was really polite, but then I was stepmom and like her whole demeanor changed. I don't know if she just has a thing, but then like it like further changed whenever it was like, oh yeah, we're technically not married yet. But we've been together for so long, it really doesn't matter to us, and Chris doesn't really know the difference either. Like, so, it's kind of a money thing. Anyway, so, as far as we're concerned, it's a piece of paper, and we live like we're married. And there's a little bit of extra paperwork for some things because of that. So this, literally she ignores every avenue that his dad has tried to make things work here. And every avenue I've tried too. But mostly it's up to his dad to do that. But she's ignored it, found a way to excuse it, found a way to basically ignore everything about it, except what she wants to project on it. Like, she is so against talking to me, she won't even talk to his dad whenever it's me relaying a message from him. Yeah. And I'm like, well, respond. She knows the standing thing. Anytime you get an email from me, to forward it to his dad with the response. Or just, write an email to his dad responding to that. She knows that she's supposed to do that. We've told her verbally. It's been written in several emails. She knows. She knows. She won't do it. She refuses. And then she just repeats the phrase over and over. I don't have to respond to you because there's nothing legally that requires me to do this. Well, you can actually get sued for not doing so. In part because his dad legitimately has a problem with his hands. He has carpal tunnel along with a couple other things, hypertension. I mean, his tendons are kind of screwed up. So, where he can do some other things, typing on his phone, most of the time he uses voice to text, and that's not always feasible. So, I handle a lot of stuff as far as that goes, and I don't mind doing it. Also, because a lot of the time I'm, the one that picks him up, it's usually easier for us to have me do it anyway, because his dad can't do it during work. He's still at work. And stuff has to be handled as soon as we can. So, I'm usually the one that handles it. I mean, he still, talks to him whenever he gets home. But as far as our immediate response, it's usually me relaying that response to him. But today I got really upset. I'm sorry. I just jumped topics again. I am trying to work on that. Like I said, it is really hard whenever you are talking on camera. Because you're talking to a camera, not a person. There is no feedback coming at you. And I guess that's kind of the other half of a conversation, and it keeps people on track. So, this is actually something I have a lot of problems with. So I'm trying, especially since I can't edit. I'm really trying. So, anyway, well, I know how to edit, I just don't have the software. So, yeah. Anyway. I mean, I can cut clips and put them together. I just don't have the software to do it. So I really can't at the same time. So, yeah. Anyway, I figured out why she doesn't like me, I think. Well, no. Why she gave me the stink eye the whole time like I was going to grow 2 heads. I don't know why she doesn't like me. But I do know things that she's used as an excuse after this all started. And I do know that for some reason she acts like this is a weird thing. How is this weird? We have to deal with you. It's one of those things. How is this weird? We have to deal with you. Yes, there is definitely going to be litigation over all the crap that's gone on. She has been hell to deal with. Not just with his dad, but Chris came home today. And he's repeated things that his teacher has very forcefully said to us. He's repeating these things. She's projecting these on him. And despite the fact that we've told her repeatedly that he's not acting like this at home, that he's not acting like this anywhere else at all, she projects that he's incapable of anything else. And she says this with him right there. She thinks apparently that since he's engaged in something else that he can't hear her, but he's listening. You can't talk about this shit with him in the room, especially the way that she does. And he came home from school today, so I know this is getting said at school when we're not there. We know, because he's coming home and he's saying this. He came home today. His reasoning for why he thought that he shouldn't have any consequences for today was, I can't. I really can't. I'm like, oh, you really can. You can control yourself. So I can't control myself. I really can't. And I'm like, you can. We've seen you do it. We know you can do better than this. You do better than this with your uncle. You do better than this at daycare. You do better than this everywhere. You know how to control yourself. Now you need to show your teacher that. But he's 6. What can he really do against this? She's a terrible teacher for that. Yes, she has wonderful intentions. And yes, whenever she does something right, we say thank you. We're not horrible people. And frankly, I wasn't raised not to do that. But I don't know what this woman thinks sometimes. And like, she acts like the fact that we're polite to her, even though kind of want to be a lot less than polite. Like, full on fuck you, go to hell. She's one of those people that sometimes I feel like she needs things I can't say. I'm just waiting for karma to hit her at that point, basically. She's on my list of people, and it's not actually a long list. Despite the amount of crap I have lived through in my life, it's not actually that long of a list. There's some people who have done a lot of damage, and a lot of people who didn't do anything to help, but were supposed to. Because that's part of their jobs. Say, hey, you know what? This is happening, and no. But they didn't do that. And inaction like that is a problem. But if you really look at it, I met a lot more people that I don't hate. But despite the fact that I do joke with people that I hate everyone equally, I don't actually hate everyone. It's a very short list. Now, people that are on my list and people that are on my hate list, that list gets a lot shorter whenever it gets to my hate list. This teacher has earned his way onto my hate list. My hate list is not even a dozen people long. Which is actually pretty good, all things considered. People I actually hate. Truly. People where... Now, this may be misleading, because if she were to jump off a bridge, there's different levels of hate, I guess. The hell could swallow you whole, like, a chasm of fiery hell could open up beneath you, swallow you whole, and I'd say that that isn't enough. That's an even shorter list. That's like extreme hell times infinity. There aren't only a handful of people on that list. All of them were involved in the same thing. There's only one instance in my life that has made me hate anyone that much. That would be why the people I hate list is more than a handful of people. Because there's a handful of people that were involved in that. And yes, the fiery chasm could come up hot enough to melt their bones. They could scream and suffer for all eternity. And I would still say that's not enough after what they did to us. So yes, there are people that I hate. Truly hate. Like, if you jumped off a bridge, I'd be like, don't expect me to save you. I mean, there's things I'd have to do because principle and vows, but I wouldn't exactly be rooting for you. Well, I might be rooting for you to live, if at least so you had to deal with the pain of jumping off the bridge. Because you will break bones doing that. If you survive. It's not fun. It's really not what people think it is. And it often does not actually result in instant death. It can if the bridge is high enough. Anyway, I'm digressing. She's not at I would push her off a bridge only because Chris is mildly attached. Not in the sense that she's his favorite teacher. Just in the sense that she's kind of a fixture. He sees her pretty often, and if she wasn't there, he'd say, "Where is she?" And I would never wish anything that would hurt him, even peripherally. Anyway, pretty sure that that's why she thinks that, why she was giving me the stink eye at his little friend's birthday party. Because she came to the birthday party. Never seen any of these teachers actually show up to a birthday party. Chris invites his teachers every year, and they never show up. They always say they're going to. I've heard the same, I would never deny an invitation from one of my students, blah, 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 blah. But they do. They say that they're going to show up, and then they don't. Chris was devastated when his kindergarten teacher didn't show up to his birthday. I guess because it might just also be because it's in the middle of the summer, they think he's going to forget. But he doesn't. In fact, he reaffirms. We invited her, right? This kid. You think they forget, but they don't. And he remembered that, and it really hurt his feelings. Anyway. Yeah. This teacher, I'm not sure the adults would want her to show up. I'm pretty sure that we'd just be like, you've caused enough suffering for our family. Just don't come near our personal lives. And stop trying to play psychiatrist. Or like you know what ADHD looks like from a medical standpoint or anything like that. It's like she's trying to diagnose him. He needs a teacher. Not someone who's gonna make excuses for her crappiness as a teacher. She spends so much time focusing on what she thinks the kids can't do. What she projects the kids can't do. She's not fostering what they can do. Her whole attitude freaking stinks. And then going back and saying, well, in kindergarten he had trouble sitting still. All kindergartners have trouble sitting still. This is normal. It's like, well, he still has problems sitting still. He is 6. He is in a classroom where she admits that there is a ton of stuff going on. Adults would have problems sitting still in this environment. Adults who do not have anything wrong with them. You cannot fault a 6-year-old reasonably for having this issue. Now he's taking what she projects into himself, and he is saying, I am this. This is something I have a problem with, even though he doesn't. It's not the first time we've had to deal with this. Last time it was him saying that a drawing was the best that he could do, and all it was scribbles. And I pulled out another one of his drawings and I said, well, Chris, but look at this. He's like, I can't draw that. I'm like, well, yes, you can. Look, this is your drawing. You drew this. You know, and then there was another one where I was like, well, you colored this. You colored in the lines. And he's like, I can't color. Because his teacher, all she does is project what the kids can't do. And she does this to the point where just because they don't do it in front of her, she projects this. And this is why a boy came home. This is why that little boy came home saying, I can't. That is never anything a child should be saying after they go to school. This should never be their reaction to things that adults are saying around them. This is an environmental foible. And he is not picking that up at home, I guarantee it. There's never a time we tell him that he can't do something. We tell him he can. That some things people need help doing. But some things we want help. We don't need it. And it's important to know when that is. Because sometimes things are just enjoyable whenever we do them with other people more. But there's never been a time he's gotten I can't from us. There's been plenty of times we've told him, well, you can, now let me show you. Or we've let him pick up little things about it and do those, and then put them together and find out himself that he could. He's never gotten I can't from us. And I am absolutely appalled, and his father is appalled and pissed, and maybe some things we can't say here because somebody might take it a little too seriously. We never do it, but there are not so great thoughts that happen about his teacher because she, even if you confront her with how damaging this is, she defends it. Like, she refuses to acknowledge that there is a problem. This is a problem. He's not coming home from school saying, look what I did. He's coming home from school saying, yeah, this is the best I can do. That is literally the most positive thing he has said about his work from school. That does not indicate an environment that is facilitating learning or positive reinforcement of any kind, as far as that goes. This is an environment that emphasizes what the teacher thinks their limitations should be or could be, and she's just so focused on projecting this that she's creating it. Because if you tell him this long enough, eventually he's going to believe it. And if you believe it, then yeah, you become limited by it. We're doing all we can to prevent that. Frankly, he only ended up in this program in the first place because he had separation anxiety. The amount of crap that they have tried to... I mean, whenever they decided to keep him in the program another year, it was with the intent of transitioning him out. This is where he was. He was ready to transition into a regular classroom. He went into this B-words class. He's awake and not napping, and I need to at least try. And suddenly he's backtracked. And she doesn't see a problem with the fact that he and his classmates have all backtracked in her class. That they've formed issues they didn't have before. And there are things that he only does in school. Only in her class. And only for her. There's stuff, especially at the beginning of the year, he would come home with great reports whenever there was a sub. Great. I was like, Jekyll Hyde, is this the same kid? At first, we didn't realize what was going on. But after that first parent-teacher conference, we were like, what is going on here? What is going on here? This isn't right. And we told her as much. Like, what? No, he doesn't have this problem. He's fine everywhere else. What's going on here that's causing this? And you know, she keeps on harping on environmental factors, saying, well, they can't focus because blah, blah, blah. She wants to literally have him diagnosed and medicated over environmental factors, which she thinks constitutes ADHD. It doesn't, and it is not his brain, and she's gone from that progressively to now saying that it is his brain, that he's incapable. And anytime we tell her that he does fine everywhere else, she reiterates over and over, also forcefully, he is incapable, he is incapable, he is incapable, it's his brain. She is a right B word, and she's wrong. Very wrong. Because it's not his brain, it's her class. And it's her. there's no possible way I could put it any more bluntly than that. It's her class, and it's her. And we will bury her in litigation before we will ever let her continue to do this to Chris. This isn't just about her harassing us with calls. To Child Protective Services. This is not the first time we've had someone come out and investigate us and, intrude into our lives and upset Chris. And, then there's the nightmares. The last worker literally did not think that she was affecting him badly. She's like, oh, well, he didn't outwardly freak out. Yes, he's learned not to do that. I don't necessarily... He's not old enough to figure out that we've worked with him on not freaking out whenever he wants to sometimes. Because there are still things that he reacts to or he wants to. And we're like, well, we can't do that here, can we? And we'll use ourselves as examples. And I'll be like, well, I want to cry right now. He knows that I have PTSD. He doesn't know why we're not having that discussion. But he knows that I remember some very bad things. And that whenever I do, it's very strong and I want to cry. So we tell him, I'm going to go home. Whenever we get home, after you go to bed, I'm going to cry. But I can't cry right now. I can't throw a fit. He doesn't control himself from the little things. And that's normal. But it does end up sort of with the big things. He knows he's not supposed to do those. Throwing things, kicking things, and all that. And this is how extreme his reaction is to that sort of thing. So, he's learned not to do that. That does not mean that he doesn't have the nightmares. The separation anxiety kind of increases, so we can't even walk out of the room without... normally he'd play with his Legos for a bit longer. But then, he was crawling into our room, didn't want to sleep by himself. I mean, he didn't even want to try to go to sleep by himself, even without nightmares. He was drawing angry birds with multiple beaks and all sorts of scary shit. This kid went from drawing rainbows to scary shit. To somebody else, maybe that doesn't mean anything. To us, yes. Adults, we can get more complicated about that shit. Kids are pretty straightforward. If there is a drastic change in behavior like that, and it ebbs away as the event goes away, generally speaking, if it is blatantly triggered by something, it generally is a reaction to that thing. So his reaction to the female worker was stronger than the male. With the male, he still had a reaction. We're still not sure if he even knew the male was a worker. He's never said anything. But lately, whenever we ask him, you can't do that, right? Because now he's friendly with strangers, so we've had to have that talk. Well, you can't just go up and talk to strangers, don't just run off without us, and he's like, and I'm like, today I asked him, why you can't do that? Because they'll take me away. That's what he said, word for word. Because they'll take me away. There's effect to stuff that you didn't necessarily see. Now, we were told that the case is getting closed. So, told Gene to save the email. Save it. Email is forever. And if something happens, anything, like somebody comes in and decides they want to be corrupt and all that, make sure that you've saved that email. Because that email is proof that this was said. and intended, and that she was basically saying that there's nothing to worry about. But see, this isn't something I'm going to forgive this teacher for. Because before what happened to me and my boys, that's what happened to us multiple times. They came out and they were like, there's nothing wrong here. And they left us alone. All it takes is one worker who doesn't want to follow the rules. So whenever you harass someone with this, all it takes is one worker not to care. One. Then usually the rest of the system lines up behind them. There are judges who literally give no fucks. They'll let this happen. That's what happened to us. Like, literally, what they said was so thinly veiled as far as, like, what it was. It came apart like paper to flame whenever they had to do a basic, whenever they had to, I had to prove what I had, what my diagnosis was, and all that stuff, and I had to get, like, documentation. And part of the investigation before we got custody of Chris in the first place looked at us on that level. I mean, this was part of it. Everything that they said about me came unraveled on absolute accident. Because it was such bullshit. That it was... There's nothing about it that could possibly stand up. But, the judge we had didn't care, and she advocates that sort of behavior. Personally, I hope that video follows her to the end of her days and burns her career into the ground, because she has no business being a judge. There are so many things in that video, just by themselves, that should have her disbarred. And if you know what those things mean, if you know what they're talking about, if you know the laws, you know that. Anyway, I'm once again off topic. And the video is getting pretty long, so I'm gonna end it. So yeah, I think I know why his teacher doesn't, kind of was giving me the stink eye. I stayed on the opposite side of the party, like, sorry, but I'm not gonna go out of my way to be a B-word to you. It's not why I exist. It's not my concern. My concern is my family and the things that you've done. And yes, I sent the thank you email today because she found Chris's jacket at school. She sent it home with him yesterday, and it still came home with him today. And I didn't get a chance to send it yesterday, so I sent it today. So yeah, yes, I sent that. Because we're not mean people. But you threaten my family? And you do shit to my family? Yes, I'm taking your ass to court. Might take me a little while to get it together. Give it a couple months. But that just gives me more time to gather more evidence. As far as I'm concerned, I'm a patient woman. If I have to destroy you, I'm gonna destroy you right. But that doesn't mean I'm gonna make your life hell every other area of life. I'm not catty. Sorry, but I'm pretty straightforward. I don't say anything I don't mean. So, just because I say thank you about the jacket doesn't mean all the other stuff I've said doesn't still apply. For some reason, His teacher seems to have a problem with that, understanding that. Just because we're not sending her an email about it every day doesn't mean we magically agree with her. She's wrong, and we've told her this, but she keeps on insisting it, which is why Christopher came home today. And he said those words. He said, I can't control myself. I really can't. I said, you can, and you do. Can and don't want to are two different things. Just because somebody says that you can't doesn't mean you can't. Don't mean anything. But there's only so much that's going to do. Because a prominent adult in his life is projecting this. And teachers are prominent adults in a child's life, especially at this age. He's a first grader. He's 6. This is a big deal. And she's projecting this. And she's the problem. He already dealt with this to a degree before we got custody of him. And it wasn't even so targeted, so like he was all confused and shit. And so it's not like we're unfamiliar with the effects, because we've already dealt with them. He's more sensitive to it because of that. You know, we had it pretty well and taken care of. Like, I don't think his teacher realizes. He was on the track to be put in regular classrooms. Like, the only reason why they didn't is because it was felt that just putting him right into a regular classroom, just right away, might be too much. Like, we wanted to kind of, you know, make the transition a little more gentle. In her class, though, he's gone back several steps. He's not doing that anywhere else. She doesn't get it. She doesn't see how this is a problem. How this indicates that there's a problem in her classroom. Not a problem with Chris's brain. Never am I ever going to say that child has no issues whatsoever. We all have our demons. And that kid has some. But they're not the issues his teacher's trying to push. Frankly, it is a waste of my time to pay her any mind outside of what is absolutely necessary. And I don't think his teacher realizes that, or even understands that hating someone doesn't mean that you... I mean, this is the lady that calls because she doesn't like somebody. Because, I don't know, she's just... Because we continuously don't agree with her. And tell her that... Because we question things and aren't educated enough to know that she is full of crap. So, she continuously calls anytime, like, the slightest thing. Like, it was an elbow bruise once, a scratch that Chris had done to himself. It wasn't on purpose. At all. Even then, it was just an accident. We've kept his nails pretty short since then. And he's stopped doing what he did to do that anyway. So, this last time, he ran into a slide. He basically was running, playing, tripped. Boom. Now, I said previously that it was this part of his nose. Apparently, it's this part, and that's also called the tip. It's the part where the cartilage connects to the bone, and it's not even a millimeter broken. It's just... Which reminds me, we have to take him back in because he hit it again the other day. It wasn't too bad. Bled a little bit. It doesn't seem to be out of alignment or anything. We just want to make sure. So... It was fairly minor. It was just because he's already got that. We want to get it looked at, make sure. So anyway, his dad's setting that up, so I have to remind him again. Make sure that I'll have to ask him. He's probably already done it, but I'm gonna ask. Because, gotta make sure sometimes he forgets things. So, I remind him. But then, everybody forgets things sometimes. What the? Okay, anyway. So, this last time, he basically was playing and it happened at daycare. There was documentation for it. There was... Did everything by the book. No, we did not rush him straight to the emergency room. But that is because he could breathe. And there was no sign that it was broken. Did, however, call a doctor. And the doctor said, make an appointment. Didn't say go to the ER, said make an appointment. Didn't sound all that serious to him, too. It just sounded like really bad swelling. Lo and behold, it's a tiny break. His nose isn't even... basically, if they were to try and, do anything to it, there's an 80% chance that they would just disalign it, not, push the cartilage. Because I guess there's a tiny little crack in, that 1 millimeter of cartilage. And it's not worth, doing anything to. As far as that goes. They could literally risk more harm to touch it. So, yeah, it's not even that bad. It is worrisome. We do tell him, not to do certain things and to be careful. We've reminded him, do you want to have to, wear a splint in your nose? Because he ran into stuff at daycare. We're like, don't do that. You're gonna hurt it more. And he's a rough and tumbling kid, and he's discovered the parallel bars. To be fair, I loved those as a kid too. And they're fun, but I really don't want him to hit his nose on those. So 9 times out of 10, I walk in there and he's doing flips on the parallel bars. And I about have a heart attack because of his nose. So, we don't want him to break it more, just let it heal. Let it heal before you go hitting your face on something again. I can tell you from experience, I'll probably hit something on the parallel bars. Anyway, I guess I'm going to end this where it's going to restart for me. Yeah, apparently there's a recording limit. And I've reached it, which means I've talked too much. And I need to go. He's being too quiet, and he's been too quiet. So, I'm gonna... Chris? He put himself down for a nap. It is too late for a nap. Chris! Chris, get your butt up! Now! I'm gonna be annoying. Christopher!
What? Yes, Mom?
It is way too late for a nap. It's almost dinner time. Really almost dinner time. Down here and sit at your chair. It's getting late, Chris. Can't be taking a nap right now. Sun's going down. Before you know it, it'll be bedtime. Can't take your nap right now. We got back too late for that. Oh, cramps. Anyway, so I guess, bye.